Hi there, my name is Kronenberg and welcome to my channel. It's another film review, and this one is Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Now, Amazon have it down as a sci-fi, no. Horror, yes. Drama, no. Fantasy, no. Romance, I suppose, but no. It came out in 1968. Amazon has it rated as a U. IMDb have a rating of 15, I think. It was 18. I can't remember. The length is an hour and 32 minutes. Amazon is 4.5 out of 5. IMDb is 6.5 out of 10. And I'll read the IMDb synopsis. When Castle Dracula is exorcised by the Monsignor, it accidentally brings the Count back from the dead. Dracula follows the Monsignor back to his hometown, preying on the holy man's beautiful niece and her friends. Okay, so the director is Freddie Francis. That's F-R-E-D-D-I-E. Francis, F-R-A-N-C-I-S, who directed Tales from the Crypt. The producer is Ada Young, and she produced When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. Music was by James Bernard, who did the Dracula music, the early one, the 1958 one. Christopher Lee is Dracula, and of course most people probably recognise him in Lord of the Rings. Sarison or whatever, whoever it was that was on top of that tower. Rupert Davis is the Monsignor, and he was in Waterloo. I've got a few actors here, to be honest, because this was a great film. Veronica Carlson was Maria, and she was in The Ghoul. Barbara Ewing, E-W-I-N-G, was Xena, and she was in Mute. Barry Andrews was Paul, and he was in The Spy Who Loved Me. Ewan Hooper, who was the priest, was in The Avengers, the 1966 one. And Michael Ripper was Max, and he was in The Mummy. It was filmed in Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire in England, and also in Black Park Lake, apparently where Xena was being chased. And this is the confusion, most people films these days. It was filmed between April and June in the same year, whereas nowadays it takes like about 4 years to produce something that people go, what the hell is that? So it's a Hammer horror film. So if you don't know Hammer horror, Hammer was the classic ones for doing horrors, strange enough, back in the 60s. There's so many Frankenstein, there's Dracula, there's many different types, and there's the main actors even there, like Peter Cushing's, Christopher Lee, and all that lot. Believe it or not, Michael Ripper's one of the most popular ones, as in he's played in most films. You wouldn't have thought. Anyway, so the title of the film starts up, and the credits are there, and there's like this red blood and veins, but it's kind of drawn, so it's like splattering the blood, and then it kind of like, you know, your eyes, if you look at your, I don't know if you get your eyes tested or something and you see that like red vein thing all over your eyes, it's like that. And the music's very much of the horror back then. Now it starts off very early with this kid cycling, and he finds his body dangling from a bell rope, and this reddish blood is you've ever seen, you know, this blood that's like paint, like a luminous paint, typical from the Hammer series. And the Hammer, by the way, did other things as well as horrors. Now, although Dracula's dead, and he's actually in frozen water, the two members of the clergy climb the mountain anyway to prove that the castle is safe. That's the Monsignor and the priest. I'm not saying how he rose, but basically they messed up. If they'd have just left it alone, the film wouldn't have even been recorded. The rocks, the mist, all looks very good. The music was building and building and building. It got more intense. It's like da-da-da, 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 like that kind of music, but orchestral music. So it's really, really, really good. Christopher Lee, those eyes, those piercing eyes he had, fantastic. So eventually we meet the boyfriend, who's Paul, played by Barry Andrews. And he's a pastry cook, and he's with Max, who's Michael Ripper. And so they're in this bar. This game where apparently not apparently, I saw it where you have a glass of beer, on the end of a stick, like balanced. But then the top of it is held onto the roof, and then you kind of like twirl the stick around whilst going round in a circle, whilst drinking a pint of beer yourself, and they're all singing. And he gets covered in beer just before he meets the parents for the first time, so that probably went down like a sack. So our hero, our cool hero, is Paul. Drinks some schnapps, right? Because obviously it's not set in the even though it's filmed in the UK, it's not set in the UK. He drinks some schnapps, and he says, how can people like that? Because apparently he never drinks, they just drinks beer. And Xena replies, well, they don't like that, they just like the effect. And he says, I don't feel any effects. And she says, oh, you will later. And he says, well, I'll have another while I wait. 3 schnapps later, he's hammered. But he's downing them in one. There's not much to the film review, because I don't want to give any of the film away. It's so good a film, basically just watch it. Now, Dracula's off to get revenge on the priest that went to his castle. And it just happens to be the niece that Paul is going out with. So you can see the reactions here. And I love the fact that basically they crossed all people's roofs. So you might see on the trailer, but they can't. I can't remember if you see on the trailer, but they sort of go out somebody's on the window, and then they climb all over these people's roofs to get to another house. Which nowadays obviously you wouldn't be able to do, but then it was like whole houses were like lumped together. It was fantastic. Music's very orchestral, very intense in parts. Sometimes soft and gentle, but sometimes it's really heavy, especially when old Drac is there. And there were times when old Count's eyes changed, and that was just fantastic. It was awesome, great acting from everybody. Majority of buildings and rocks were built for the film, so even the castle that you saw, that wasn't real, it was built. And it's unlike today where they all go off and find a location and go, right, we're going to film here for like 3 days, and then we're going to go to Germany and film there for half a day, and then we're going to go to, I don't know, France and film there. Whereas they just built it. It's like, yeah, that's how it was. Fantastic film, fantastic. It's got what, a rating of, what did I say, 6.5? I'll give it an 8. I just love it. It's one of my favourite type of films. Is Hammer films for a start, and especially Dracula and Christopher Lee. So can't get any better than that. Well, you can. There's some other good ones. There's some other bad ones as well, believe it or not. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed watching this this film review of Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Normally I do a lot of kind of weirdy ones, but now and then I like to pick something a bit kind of good, as opposed to, you know, the ones that you look at and think, I ain't touching that with a barge pole. So I think it's nice to watch different kind of things. We all do. Everybody does. We all. I don't just sit here just watching crappy films all the time, although some of them that have high ratings turn out to be crap. So it's quite nice to just sit back and watch something else of whatever description it is. Okay, well, please subscribe to my channel. Like I say, I've got plenty of other film reviews. Mainly I focus on games reviews and let's plays, but I do venture out into the films now and then. Okay, well, thank you and goodbye.